Daedalus and his son Icarus were imprisoned by King Minos because he feared they knew too much. Trapped on an island with no ships, no allies, and no path forward, Daedalus turned towards the sky. He built up 2 pairs of wings from feathers and wax, one for himself and one for his son. A way out, made by hand, a man-made miracle. Before taking flight, Daedalus warned his son, "Fly too low and the sea spray will weigh you down. Fly too high and the sun will melt the wax. Follow my path." And so they leapt. At first it worked. They soared into the air. Free, Icarus, young and wild, felt the wind lift him in ways no one had ever felt before. He wasn't flying to escape anymore. He was flying because he could. He flew higher and higher until the sun grew too close. The wax that held his wings together began to melt. The feathers loosened, his arms flailed, and then he fell. Icarus plummeted into the sea. What an idiot. The beauty of falling. Icarus laughed as he fell. Do a backflip. For those of us who aren't obnoxious, that isn't possible. But why? Physically jump and your body would do the rest for you.
This of course doesn't apply to my amputee viewers.
So if you can physically, the only thing holding you back is the mental. And to be more specific, your fear of falling. It's human nature to fear falling. And that's part of the beauty, where sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith.
Like, what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger? Like, what's up, danger? Can't stop me now. Travel 200 miles, I'm knocking at your door. And I don't really care if you ain't done.
He isn't falling, he's rising. That's the trick of the shot, and of the whole film. What looks like a fall is actually the moment he becomes something more. Because falling isn't failure, it's the sound of your old self breaking on the way down, so your new self can climb back up. And in that moment, arms out, wind screaming, city beneath him, Miles isn't scared. He's flying. The beauty of falling. Better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. Yeah, that line is hard. It's from Paradise Lost, John Milton's retelling of the fall of Satan. But Milton does something different. He doesn't make Satan the villain. He makes him us. Flawed, proud, angry, and way too ambitious for his own good. He loses everything. Heaven, light, peace. And he stands up and says, better to reign in hell than serve in heaven. But he didn't fall with shame. He fell with purpose, as if falling could be a choice. Milton doesn't show you a monster. He shows you a falling star, still burning on the way down. And maybe that's the point. It wasn't about falling or rising. It was about refusing to break, even at the bottom. Because Satan doesn't just fall. He commands, he declares, awake, arise, or be forever fallen. As if falling could be a choice. In life, 4 things are certain. Death, taxes, going insane in desire for perfection, and falling. So isn't there a sense of beauty in welcoming the fall rather than fearing it? Wait, what was that third thing again? Darren Aronofsky, the director of Black Swan, delves into the destructive pursuit of artistic perfection. For protagonist, Nina's obsession with achieving flawlessness in a performance leads to a psychological breakdown. This film portrays how the intense quest for perfection can result in self-destruction, blurring the lines between what it means to fall and what it means to rise. In Black Swan, Nina's descent into madness is terrifying, but it's also poetically beautiful. Her obsession with perfection leads her to lose her grip on reality, but in doing so, she delivers a flawless performance, the one she's always dreamed of. Her fall into psychosis, into self-destruction, is the very thing that allows her to fly on stage. It's a haunting, elegant collapse. The cost is everything, but the result is transcendent. Icarus laughed as he fell, for the wind still corroded him, the sun burned upon his skin, and in that fleeting scent, he was flying. Icarus fell, yes, but it was clear that it mattered not to him, because before he fell, Icarus flew. For those who smile as they drown and laugh as they fall, who are we to define tragedy after all? The beauty of falling. To fall means you once flew. Actually, I call bullshit. Let's dive deeper. I've had times in my life where I felt like I was falling. Like now. And it's not always poetic. There's not always something triumphant that comes beforehand. And there's not always a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. Not every fall is gentle. Some are tragic, some are violent, and some just don't come back. I still can't believe the best representation of depression in a TV show came from an animated horse. Yet we're here, and now I'm talking about an animated horse in my FMP worth most of my grade. Guys, I'm failing. Bojack Horseman is a washed-up sitcom star. In the 90s, he had it all. Fame, money, a hit show. Everyone loved him. Everyone wanted to be him. He had it all. Now he has a bottle, a pool, and silence that sounds like a lot of thinking. But Bojack tries to be better. He apologizes, he goes to rehab, he reads self-help books, he swims. But every time he rises, he falls harder. Every time he smiles, a stage light wobbles. Every time he thinks he's healed, the past walks in and sits down like it never left. Bojack once told a girl to believe in herself. He then ruined her life. And there's a moment, in a pool, where time stops. Not because it's beautiful, because it's over. You're racing towards the ground, but it's too late. The view from halfway down, a view you'll never forget.
A view you'll never forget. A view you'll never forget.
Bojack Horseman isn't a story of redemption. It's a reminder that some people don't come back. The beauty of falling, I guess.
The 17-year-old rising star Neymar.
Neymar da Silva Santos Jr., the 17-year-old simply known as Neymar.
After 4 years of playing in Brazil, it was clear that the world stage was destined for this young boy. And so, he made his big move.
Neymar has agreed in principle to join Barcelona on July the 1st.
Neymar was greeted by over 50,000 fans at the Camp Nou as he completed a €57 million move from Santos.
But his first season didn't go exactly as planned.
Not been hugely impressive in his first season at Barcelona. Not bad.
This dude, he didn't necessarily do the greatest for Barcelona in his first season in La Liga last year with only 9 goals.
He's not the same league as Messi.
I don't think that it's fair on him. He's still a young boy. He needs to grow.
Sure, it didn't go as planned, but Neymar knew it was time for his turning.
Welcome to Brazil, where World Cup 2014 is well underway.
The hopes of Brazil is all on his shoulders, and there is definitely high expectations for him on his very first World Cup. Fans around the world were asking, can this kid really reach the heights of the legends he's being compared to? Soon enough, we got the answer.
Neymar scores twice in the first half, scoring his third and fourth goal of the tournament, helping Brazil beat Cameroon 4-1 as they advance to the next round.
And Neymar showed that he is he's a player for the big occasion.
Hopes were high for all the Brazilians as they progressed round after round with Neymar as the main man.
In the last few moments that Neymar, the star striker, is ruled out of the rest of the tournament. He picked up an injury to his third vertebra in his back. It's fractured.
A tragedy for the home nation.
Yes.
He leads them in goals scored, shots on goal, chances created.
Yeah.
And I think it's a real blow for Brazil. Massive blow for Brazil.
Safe to say they were knocked out of the tournament after a heart-wrenching 7-1 loss against Germany. The dream was over, but in great news, Neymar recovered fully fit, ready for his next season with Barcelona. And with new signing Luis Suarez, everything began to click. And Neymar, Messi and Suarez made the best attacking trio that football has ever seen.
This almost telepathy between them that's been in evidence throughout the season is still there.
Neymar, Messi and Suarez. I don't think I'd sleep too well at night before.
And after winning every trophy there was to win, the Brazilian announced his presence. But still, there was one man who was in all the headlines, though an opportunity came for Neymar, which could make him the star of the team.
The headline, though, has to be Lionel Messi. Suffering an MCL tear in a Barcelona win over Las Palmas on the weekend, Messi will be out for 7 to 8 weeks.
Since Lionel Messi got injured, everyone in Barcelona was expecting Neymar to shine.
At the moment, who needs Messi when you've got these two?
And he excelled into that. He took the responsibility.
Once again, Neymar broke the 30-goal mark with Barca, contributing to another league title. But is that all he wanted?
Barcelona is Messi's city. Madrid is Ronaldo's city. Every other footballer is in Messi or Ronaldo's shadow.
Champions League round of 16. Barcelona 4-0 down facing off against PSG. It would take a special player to step up if Barcelona even hoped to win. Suarez scored goal 1 and then Messi with goal 2. 2 minutes remaining, Barcelona gets a free kick. Our boy Neymar steps up and delivers, and he wasn't finished there. In the final minute, he scored a clinical penalty, bringing the team 1 goal towards victory. Finally, with the ref ready to blow his whistle, Neymar's pass had to be inch perfect. And inch perfect it was. Neymar was undoubtedly the difference maker for this comeback, but what preceded was not what he had anticipated.
Neymar scored 1 off a direct free kick, 1 off a penalty, and he assisted on Sergi Roberto's goal.
Yeah.
And the one picture everybody saw was Lionel Messi doing that.
It's Messi in the newspapers. It's Messi who completed the comeback. It's not Neymar. And I believe that was the day that Neymar looked at Barcelona and looked at Messi and said that as long as I'm at this club, I can't be the best player in the world.
Neymar has moved from Barcelona to Paris Saint-Germain for a staggering 200 million.
The overwhelming emotion that we feel is definitely betrayal.
Fans are very angry with Neymar.
Coming away from Barcelona and out of the shadow of other players might help him, but for me, it was a surprise. It was a shock.
Neymar made it clear early on that he was ready to give it his all.
The Brazilian has been in superb form and plays with freedom in the front three.
Dribbles, 1 against 1. No one does that anymore, except Messi. Scores 30-40 goals every year.
Neymar out of the Champions League second leg against Real Madrid with a metatarsal injury.
During his absence, the team needed someone to step up, and in Neymar's luck, or you could argue misfortune, was a new young talent who was able to take the reins. Kylian Mbappe.
If indeed Neymar's motive was to be the man, the guy, away from Messi, and then this is going to be my team and I'm going to carry this team, well, it's impossible to do that when you're not there, as Frank just said, when the team needs you the most.
Fortunately, Neymar was back for the 2018 World Cup to play for Brazil. However, the tournament didn't go as expected.
Everyone knows he wasn't good. He looked tired, he was slow, just off the pace, his attitude was poor. I know he's getting fouled, but you can tell that wasn't the real Neymar.
Numerous times just looking to attract 3 or 4 players over just to build his skills, compilation on YouTube.
All Neymar does, he's dived like an Olympic swimmer, blood. Less of that.
Stop it, Neymar. Just stop what you're doing and just play football.
You kind of think Neymar still is a youngster, but 27, in his prime, should have really gone into this tournament and been the star of the show.
It's absolutely 100% about him not maturing.
Time was running out for Neymar to fulfill his potential, but injuries continued to plague him in his prime. Neymar was falling. Fans wanted Neymar to take football more seriously. 2 years later, they got what they asked for.
better to him tonight. Maybe it was a personal thing. Maybe all the attacks on Neymar, he's taking it personally. He says, you know what, I'm going to carry this team.
This is why he came to the club. He wanted to be the big star, the number one, not in the shadow of Messi or Suarez. And he is now. And this is the kind of game where he has to be the leader and he has to deliver and put on a good performance to send his team through.
Because it was only Neymar.
The trophy was within reach, but in the finals, all hopes were crushed. It was at this point where PSG decided they would take a different approach.
We start with one of the most significant transfers in the history of football. Lionel Messi has tonight signed for Paris Saint-Germain, officially ending his 21-year stay at Barcelona.
Neymar was back in the supporting role for Messi, and in the Champions League, they were defeated with ease.
Neymar, again, I say it. I've been saying it for years, mate. He's so overrated.
They can't cope because they don't all defend or play as a team.
Do I want 4 years more of Neymar the way he played yesterday? How on earth did he play 90 minutes?
And things went from bad to worse.
The FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022 is finally here.
He turned his ankle, where they're going to assess either the swelling comes down and he can play again. We may not see him again.
Though the script writers cooked and Neymar healed in time to play the knockout stages.
Neymar! Neymar! Oh!
Unfortunately, the scriptwriters had other plans, and Brazil ended up losing. The dream was over, and Neymar would probably never come back to his best.
Really disappointing news for Neymar because he is out for the rest of the season.
Heartbreaking news, of course, for Neymar to be out for the rest of the season, for PSG not to be able to have that Brazilian number 10 like too many times before. A season cut short by injury.
You know, a recurring theme now for Neymar with PSG. Injuries interrupting, more than half of the seasons that he's actually now played with the club.
PSG were ready to cut ties with Neymar once and for all, and Neymar chose the best course of action, was pretty much retirement.
He's not chasing greatness. He's not chasing to sit with the Ronaldos and the Messis, and he's here for vibes.
The level that Neymar should have been at, his body's let him down to a level, of course, he's had injury problems, but the level of his talent, his career has been unfulfilled.
Neymar could have been the third best player of all time, potentially top 2, if he had actually been able to commit to that work ethic and to being on good teams and being part of a really good, solid club. But instead, he made some weird career choices that derailed, in a way, his career overall.
It feels like the end of the story that didn't finish properly. Neymar didn't fall like Icarus. He didn't burn, crash, or collapse. He drifted, one injury, one tournament, one shadow at a time, until the world stopped looking up. He was supposed to fly, but some people don't fall because they failed. They fall because we expect them to rise forever. For Neymar, he will certainly be remembered for the career he could have had, and not for the one that he did. Not every fall has a climax, some just drift quietly. Some falls end, but not with a bang, with the absence of a voice, until all that's left is a scream. For those who smile as they drown and laugh as they fall, who are we to define tragedy after all? The more I think about it, falling and rising are quite inexplicably bound. Let's go back to Neymar. Sure, he didn't have the career that everyone wanted him to have, but he might have just been playing for fun. So, did he really fall? He made a lot of money, so if that was his goal, then he was rising. And in Black Swan, Nina absolutely loses herself and goes insane. We may say that's a fall from grace, but our performance was the most graceful it's ever been. In other words, everything requires a sacrifice, like weights in the balance. If you're going to rise in one direction, you're going to fall in another. That's just the beauty of falling.
Not quite my tempo.
Damien Chazelle's films, particularly Whiplash and La La Land, delves deeply into the theme of sacrifice in the relentless pursuit of artistic excellence. Two films where dreamers end up achieving their dreams, yet one feels like a triumph and the other feels like a tragedy. In Whiplash, Andrew Neiman is a jazz drummer, striving to rise above mediocrity and etch his name into history. But greatness has a price. Under the direction of Terence Fletcher, a conductor who uses cruelty as a tool, Andrew begins a descent which is disguised as a progress.
Because I want to be great.
And you're not.
I want to be one of the greats.
And I would stop you from doing that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And when I did see you, you treat me like shit because I'm just some girl who doesn't know what she wants. And you have a path, and you're going to be great, and I'm going to be forgotten. And therefore, you won't be able to give me the time of day because you have bigger things to pursue.
That's exactly my point.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
The lights are low. The crowd is silent. Andrew sits at the drum kit, shoulders stiff, eyes sharp, breathing shallow. He's already fallen once, expelled, exposed, humiliated. But now, he's here, again, with Fletcher, again, one last time. He sets Andrew up to fail, gives him a shot he's never seen, wants him to crash, to break. And Andrew does, briefly. Then he turns the page. And he plays. Not the chart, not the plan, his plan. He hits the crash, holds it, eyes locked on Fletcher, no words, just music. And in that silence, a smirk. Fletcher nods, and Andrew smiles. But it's not joy. Not really. It's the smile of someone who's finally reached the top, only to look down and realise he's completely alone. It looks like a rise, but it was a fall all along. La La Land is a love story. Mia and Sebastian meet as dreamers. They fall in love, build each other up, and inspire one another to chase the careers they've always wanted. For Mia, that was to become an established actor. And for Sebastian, that was to open up his own jazz cafe where he could play the piano.
I made you something.
For what?
For your club.
Why does it say Sebs?
Because I think you should call it Sebs.
What?
Because no one's going to come to Chicken on a Stick.
Is that a music note? Is it an apostrophe?
Yes.
But dreams demand more than romance can offer. As opportunities appear, time disappears. Arguments replace harmony. Distance replaces intimacy. Eventually they part ways. Not out of bitterness, but because the dreams won. And the only way they could accomplish them was to let each other go despite being in love. And that's okay. Years have passed. Mia walks into a small jazz club, hand in hand with her husband. She looks around and freezes. And then it happens. In that one look, we see everything they never said. The silence says we'll remember. It says thank you.
I just heard you play, and I wanted to...
The relationship plays out in full from the very beginning, but without the struggle, without the heartbreak. It's a fantasy, a flawless, bittersweet dream. They succeed, but they stay together. They marry, they raise a child, they dance again. All the love without the loss. That's not real. Maybe we were wrong. Whiplash is the tragedy. A boy who achieves greatness, yet loses himself. And La La Land is a triumph. Two lovers who let each other go, yet they became who they wanted to be. Maybe falling and rising were never opposites to begin with. They were just two sides of the same motion, depending on whether we think the sacrifice is worth it. Andrew rises by falling into obsession. Me and Sebastian fall out of love to rise into who they were meant to be. You don't get to choose whether you fall or rise. Only what you give up when you do. The beauty of falling. You don't get to choose whether you fall or rise. Only what you give up when you do. And in Fullmetal Alchemist, that's not just a feeling, it's a law.
Humankind cannot gain anything without first giving something in return. To obtain something of equal value must be lost. That is alchemy's first law of equivalent exchange.
Alchemy isn't just magic, it's a metaphor for life. You can't create something out of nothing. To gain, you must lose. And it applies to everything, not just materials, not just power, but time, grief, growth. And so also the nature of falling and rising. It's not just how the world works in their story, it's how our very own universe works.
The flow of this universe follows laws of such magnitude that you and I can't even imagine them. You have to understand that flow, deconstruct it, and then reconstruct it.
That's what alchemy is, brother.
You're right. But it's also what living is.
So the basis of alchemy, deconstruction and then reconstruction, is just like the food chain then, isn't it?
Like when you eat a rabbit and your body breaks down its flesh, then it's restructured as part of yourself. And even before that, the rabbit restructured the grass it ate into part of its own body. Alchemy is part of that flow, and the flow is life itself.
What would you give to bring someone back from the dead? Two brothers tried the impossible to bring their mother back to life. They paid with their bodies. In a literal sense, I know what you freaks are thinking. And what followed was a journey to recover what they lost and what they'd become. But the story isn't about fixing a mistake. It's about learning what it takes to move forward. Fullmetal Alchemist is my favourite show ever. Every episode leads to an existential crisis, yet at the same time, it's hopeful and inspiring. At the end of the series, Edward Elric stands before the gate, the threshold between truth and illusion, between what he wants and what he's willing to give up getting it. His brother's soul, the one thing he's been trying to restore since the very beginning, is finally within reach. But the gate doesn't deal in kindness, it deals in balance. So Edward offers what's left. Not his life, not his body, but something even more painful. His alchemy. For outsiders, that might not sound like much, but for Edward, alchemy wasn't just his power, it was his identity. It was the thing that made him special. It defined him as a child, guided him through pain, gave him purpose. It was his weapon, his tool, his answer.
You're willing to cast it aside, to lower yourself to a simple human?
What do you mean, lower myself? That's the only thing I've ever been. Just a simple human that couldn't save a little girl. Not even with alchemy.
You're sure you'll be all right without it? Think carefully now.
Fullmetal!
Edward!
Edward Elric!
Who even needs alchemy when I've got them?
And now he lets it go, willingly, completely. Because the real lesson of equivalent exchange was never about circles or symbols or science. Too much S's in that for someone with a lisp. I swear to. He fell by choice, and in doing so, he rose higher than ever before. Because in the end, the gate doesn't ask what you can do, it asks what you're willing to give up. Whiplash showed us a fall into obsession that felt like a rising to greatness. La La Land showed us a rise to success that felt like a fall out of love. And Fullmetal Alchemist shows us that to rise at all, you must give something up. These stories aren't opposites, they're reflections. Rising and falling, not a line but a loop. Not a success or failure, just motion. Andrew bled for greatness. Me and Sebastian let go of each other to become who they were meant to be. Edward gave up the thing that made him exceptional to become whole. The beauty of falling. In every case, they fell. And in every case, they simultaneously rose. Not because they avoided sacrifice, but because they chose it.
There's no such thing as a painless lesson. They just don't exist. Sacrifices are necessary. You can't gain anything without losing something first. Although, if you can endure that pain and walk away from it, you'll find that you now have a heart strong enough to overcome any obstacle. Yeah, a heart made full metal.
So what if falling isn't the opposite of rising? It's just the first step. There's something that happens when the world stops clapping. When the goals you are chasing starts to feel fake and your reflection in the mirror starts to look like a stranger. There's a blur that creeps in quietly. At first it's just for days, we start to look the same. Then the mirrors, then the voice you use when you talk to people. Soon, you can't tell if you're pretending or if you're pretending became you. Whatever it was used to be, it's gone. And all that's left is this.
Stop.
Before we talk about Fight Club, let's read. Oh, my apologies everyone, I was busy reading my feminist literature. However, today that's not what we're going to be discussing. We're going to be discussing philosopher and author Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche didn't believe in self-help. He believed in downgoing. The idea was simple. Before someone can rise into something higher, they must fall out of who they are. The challenge is everything we're taught about self-improvement, the books, the habits, the routines. All of it is designed to maintain the self, keep you running faster in the same direction. But if the problem is the self, what good is the improvement? Nietzsche didn't want you to be better, he wanted you to be new. And to get there, you have to fall. It's not about empowerment, it's about erasure. Because it's only after we've lost everything that we're free to do anything. Fight Club begins with insomnia. Not rage, not violence, just silence, bars. A man with a nice apartment, a good job, an IKEA catalogue of a life, and no idea who he is. This is what Nietzsche meant by the self must fall. Not because it's falling, but because it's fake. And when Tyler shows up, Tyler isn't a person, he's what happens when you stop pretending. He says the quiet part out loud.
You're not your job. You're not how much money you have in the bank. You're not the car you drive. You're not the contents of your wallet. You're not your fucking khakis.
Tyler isn't self-improvement, he's self-destruction as a form of rebirth. This film isn't saying be Tyler, it's warning you what happens if you don't confront what made you invent him. This isn't about finding peace, it's about finding what's real, picking up the remnants when all that's left is ash. They lose everything, their identities, their safety, their illusion of control, and in that loss, they finally start over. Because sometimes the only way to rise into who you are meant to be is to fall out of who you are pretending to be.
There is a third sort of guy in a world where there are alphas and betas, the sigma male. The usual hierarchy does not.
We usually think of falling as dramatic, as fire, as collapse. But sometimes it's quieter than that. For me, it wasn't a breakdown. It was a haircut. For as long as I can remember, I've been obsessed with my looks, and not in the proud, narcissistic way. I mean, sometimes I wish it was. It was smaller than that, quieter, more insecure. There was a time where I looked in the mirror before primary school and cried on the way there. At some point in my life, people started complimenting my hair. It was something people noticed and something I was praised for. And somehow, that made it worse. Because now I had something to protect. Every compliment felt like pressure. Like I had to keep being that version of myself or lose the worth I'd finally been given. So all of that insecurity, all of that fear collapsed into my hair. So eventually, I made a decision to cut it off. It wasn't self-improvement, it was surrender. Because it isn't about becoming more, it's about becoming real. You don't always fall in flames, sometimes you fall quietly. And when the noise stops, you realize you're still here. Guys, it's so beautiful out here right now. What is something that you always think about? Your Roman Empire. My Roman Empire is the beauty of falling. Rome wasn't just a city, it was a flex. It's like, in Minecraft, you know when your world is so prosperous that you just start building in diamond. And they're ugly as well. It's like this luminous blue color, which is so bright. Doesn't matter. The biggest civilization the world has ever seen, and they knew it. They had the armies, the aqueducts, the politics, the orgies. Who wrote this? Democracy, Rome. Straight roads, Rome. The word civilization, literally from Latin, the Roman language. They called it the Eternal City. But here's the twist. Rome didn't just fall in some fiery apocalypse. It just crumbled from the inside. Greed, laziness, corruption. Leaders who were more obsessed with gold than governance. Citizens who stopped caring. They thought they'd peaked, and then they slipped. But here's the thing, Rome didn't die. It fell, and something new grew in its place. The Catholic Church, Renaissance, Western law. Even the buildings we still copy today, they all rose from those ruins. And that's what people miss. Falling doesn't always mean ending. Sometimes it means clearing the ground for something better. Not every fall ends in fire. Some just fade. Quietly, like a light that was never meant to burn forever. Shout out to Smith, though they said the opposite. Shout out my boy Frank Ocean. Frank.
I be dreaming a dream and a thought that could dream about a thought that could think of dreaming a dream where I cannot. Less morose and more present. Dwell on my gifts for a second, a moment. One solar flare would consume, so why not? Spin this flammable paper on the film that's my life. High flights, inhale the vapor, exhale once and think twice. Eat some shrooms, maybe have a good cry about you. See some colors, light hang glide off the moon. In the dark, in the dark, I do anything for you. 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 I do anything for you.
Falling isn't always one thing. It's not always tragic. It's not always beautiful. It's not always a beginning or an end. Sometimes falling is rebirth. Sometimes it's a collapse. Sometimes it's just gravity. But meaning doesn't live in the fall itself. It lives in what we choose to take from it. Some rise again, some don't. And some, like Icarus, laughed as he fell. For the wind still cradled him, the sun burned upon his skin, and in that fleeting scent, he was still flying. Icarus fell, yes, but it mattered not to him, because before he fell, Icarus flew. Why isn't this ended yet? Oh yeah, the beauty of...